So I am probably the first to admit that having Vacation Bible School videos in lieu of our first reading may not have been the best idea I have ever had, but you know, it's one of those things, it seemed like a good idea at the time, you know? So the Vacation Bible School video clip today was actually a trailer for some canned VBS program that churches can buy and serve up to kids for like a week or a month or something. And this one somehow teaches Bible stories in the context of robotics, because you got to do something to grab the little tyke's attention, and generally Bible stories alone won't do it these days. Now, when I was a kid, however, all we got was Bible stories, and we had to like it. And we also had to trudge to Vacation Bible School barefoot in the snow, uphill both ways. I'm not entirely sure what the rest of that robotics curriculum involved, because I didn't buy it. Something about what we're programmed for as human beings, not robots, what human beings are programmed for. I think it was like $200, so I just appropriated the trailer from YouTube. But the robots caught my attention, and presumably they would catch other little kids' attention, because all of the hype these days around AI, artificial intelligence. Has everybody heard of artificial intelligence, okay? And the more I hear about it, I honestly don't know whether to be amazed or terrified. Yeah. Now, you've probably heard about things like ChatGPT, which will write stuff for you. You can get it to write your resume, that sort of thing. And I'm in a couple of Facebook groups of ministers, and there's been a bunch of chatter about ChatGPT, and will people start having this thing write their sermons for them? And a few folks actually posted some of the results they'd gotten from asking the bots to write a sermon on a particular subject, and the results, frankly, were kind of scary. The sermons that the software produced were, in some respects, credible sermons. They were not scholarly. They were not at all very deep or profound, but they generally hit the main points and were more or less coherent. But they were also not very progressive, and I think part of the reason is that these things are really nothing but plagiarism software. They're stealing bits and pieces from all over the web. They're pulling from a gazillion online sources, and they're not citing any of those sources, which as a biblical scholar offends me greatly. And most sermons online tend to come from fairly conservative churches with a theology that I just can't ascribe to. And the general consensus of the ministers in the Facebook group was, everyone said, no way am I going to use that stuff. I mean, what else would they say? But just for the record, you should know that I have enough ego wrapped up in my preaching that I will never believe that a robot can write a better sermon than I can. So, well, God bless you. So I shan't be using it. And also, as I said, pretty execrable theology for the most part that I just wouldn't inflict on you all because, well, maybe if I were preaching to robots. You're not robots, are you? I should put a little CAPTCHA thing up on the screen. Yeah, we're not robots, are we? We're not programmed like robots. Or are we? I am a huge fan of science fiction. Most of the old science fiction I've read has now been surpassed by reality. But one of my favorite authors was Isaac Asimov. Anybody heard of Isaac Asimov? Oh yeah, I think I've read every single thing he's ever written. And he wrote a lot of books about robots. Some of them have been made into movies. But in creating a universe where robots were ubiquitous, he also created a social structure for them. And in the society he created, there were rules for robots. And they're known as Asimov's 3 laws of robotics. 1, a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. 2, a robot must obey orders given to it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And 3, a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. And the funny thing is that for years after Asimov created those, other science fiction writers who wrote about robots incorporated those laws into their scenarios too, but not anymore. Janet and I recently went to see the new Indiana Jones movie, which I loved, and there was a trailer for a new film called The Creator. And it's set in the future, and the gist of it is that there's a war between the human race and the forces of artificial intelligence. And there's this AI being called the Creator, who is the architect of some mysterious weapon with the power to end the war by ending humanity. Clearly not programmed according to Asimov's 3 laws. Those laws only exist in fiction. So some hero named Joshua is recruited to hunt down and kill the Creator, to save all of humanity from extinction. You know, a noble goal for humans. And Joshua and his team of elite operatives fight their way deep into AI territory, only to discover that this world-ending weapon he's been instructed to destroy is an AI in the form of a young child. The weapon looks like a human toddler. And all animals, including human animals, are kind of programmed to protect their young. I have no idea how the movie ends. If you know, do not tell me, please. But it clearly sets up this heart-rending conflict that Joshua faces when he's told he has to destroy what appears to be a cute, cuddly child. What are we programmed for? Because I think we're definitely programmed for a few things. We are programmed for life. Physically, psychologically, and spiritually, living is what we know. And at our core, we strive for life against all odds. When someone is sick or injured, we say that they're fighting for their life. And that's what people do. You know, the primary aim of most medical science and research is to keep us alive. You know, science is working diligently on unraveling the mystery of our mortality and aging in an effort to combat death. And it turns out the genetic studies so far have determined that there's nothing in our DNA that indicates we actually have to die. There's no gene for death that could be simply switched off, and our most central identity is that we are programmed for life. And yet, eventually, we die. But I think that beyond that, we're programmed for more than mere existence. I think we're programmed for life in relationship and connection to God. And I think, or at least I really, really hope, we are programmed for love. Because what is life without love? I'm not sure if a commandment qualifies as programming, even though as part of my misspent youth, I spent 1 year of university majoring in computer programming back in the day when you programmed a computer by typing out cardboard punch cards, and a computer with less memory than my phone took up an entire room. But to program the computer, we gave it commands in various archaic computer languages like COBOL and Fortran. Does anybody remember those? Like from, oh, you old. I old. But for us, Jesus gave us a command, programmed us, if you will, and in the Christian faith tradition, the greatest commandment was when Jesus quoted the Hebrew Scriptures and commanded us to love God and love our neighbors as ourselves. And I think love and life are clearly at the heart of Jesus' teachings. The scripture that Eileen read talked about a very organic image of life. Jesus says that he is the vine and we are the branches, and the branches share in the same life as the vine, and the branches are to bear the fruit of the vine. As an aside, I will tell you that I have a tattoo that I can't show you, which is a bunch of grapes. And the reason I have it is because of this verse, because Jesus commanded us, to share in that life and to bear fruit. So I'm bearing fruit. And that fruit is life. Jesus also taught that each tree is known by its own fruit. For people do not gather figs from thorns, nor do they pick grapes from the briar bush. No, fig trees produce figs, thorns produce thorns, grapevines produce grapes, and as living beings, we produce life. The 14th century mystic Meister Eckhart said, "We do not have life, we are life." We do not have life, we are life. And life is a big freaking deal. The life we're gifted with and called to is pretty incredible, because Jesus also said, "I have come that you might have life and you might have it abundantly." Not just life, abundant life. And that abundant life is a life of love and intimacy and connection with God. Theologian Jim Rigby wrote that people say that all we're seeking is a meaning for life, and I don't think that's what we're really seeking. I think that what we're seeking is an experience of being alive, so that our life experiences on the purely physical plane will have resonances with our own innermost being and reality, so that we actually feel the rapture of being alive. And to me, that sounds like abundant life, the rapture of being alive. Something that, sadly, I think AI and robots may never know. Now, unlike the robots in the cartoon, to a certain extent, we are programmed, and unlike the robots, we are programmed for life. And all this leads to my main point for today. I'll get to it in a minute. Anybody ever heard of the Stoics? Okay? They were ancient philosophers who were realists, and they pictured humans as cells in the common body of the cosmos, and they found a harmony between the inner myth of creation and the outer truth of evolution. And nothing is harder than finding a consistent theory about the meaning of life. But nothing is simpler, which is not to say it's not hard, than living meaningfully when we remember the connected nature of things, and in particular, when we remember the connection between us and God, as a branch is connected to the vine. And the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius, I love him, wrote, "We ought to do good to others as simply as a horse runs, or a bee makes honey, or a vine bears grapes season after season." Things we are programmed to do. In other words, fig trees are programmed to produce figs, grapevines are programmed to produce grapes, and living human beings are programmed to have life and amplify it. And I think human beings living in intimacy with God are programmed, therefore, for abundant life. Human life means a lot of things. As living beings, we are social and relational beings. We are embodied physical beings. We are spiritual beings. We can experience awe and reverence and wonder and a sense of being part of something larger than ourselves. We're creative beings, and we are meaning-making beings. And AI can probably learn some of those things in time, but that learning is still not life. As spiritual beings, humans flourish when our lives are filled with gratitude and awe and wonder, with humility and reverence, and all the other responses to being part of an amplified story or community or experience, something larger than just ourselves. We are the vine, he is the vine, we are the branches. Something larger than ourselves. And as meaning-making beings, humans flourish when we can make a sense of our lives and the world around us in ways that are empowering and positive and provide guidance for our actions in the world. And the more we flourish across all the ways in which we're human, the richer and fuller our lives are, and the more we can contribute to building the realm of God here on earth. When we flourish, we live that abundant life. And when we flourish, life flourishes all around us. I'll be honest, I find the prospect of artificial intelligence that learns and grows and perhaps even develops agency kind of frightening. I have a horrible feeling that some of my worst fears about AI will come true in my lifetime or, I don't know, next week. Because the future's today, not 5 years from now. But I think, or hope, that while AI and robots can perform incredible tasks, they lack the essence of a soul. And I think humans possess that unique spiritual dimension, a connection to a loving God that goes way beyond the physical. And I am cautiously hopeful that eventually we can see AI as a tool for us to use in bringing about the realm of God, because our ability to harness technology can enhance our efforts to alleviate suffering, to promote justice, and care for the earth. Now, they can do a lot of other things, but we can use them to alleviate suffering, promote justice, and care for the earth. And as human beings continue to advance technologically, may we always approach those achievements with humility, recognizing that all of our creations are born from the spark of divine creativity within us. Let us always use our technological progress to serve God's greater purpose, seeking justice, love, and compassion in all we do. Amen. Amen.